like Al Gore. He's always looked like a big fat rapist to me. Looks like a giant pervert, but I don't go off my instincts, though they're always right. I've got to trust but verify. And I've listened to the woman's testimony. We played parts of it. It's up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com since last weekend. And it's her audio police report. It's actually hours long. We put up a version that kind of boils it down to 23 minutes. But Al Gore came in. He was staying in a fancy hotel. He showed her condoms and said, "I'm going to use these." He began grabbing her hands and putting them on his genitals. She said she wasn't that type of masseuse, that she wasn't a prostitute, and that he seemed to be confused about what he'd ordered. And she explained it all to him. And then, of course, she started trying to get her stuff and leave, and he was running up behind her in the bathrobe, hunching on her without underwear on, and doing classic politician stuff of like, "I'm not advancing on you when you don't want me to." That's preposterous, as he was hunching on her. So, I mean, that's classic. This is not an assault like at Waco as they're ramming the building, pumping gas in. Or, "We're not setting up a world government." Next on CNN, world government. The only hope, we'll pay our taxes to them. I'm not having unwanted sexual advances as he was chasing her around with an erection protruding from his bathrobe, according to her. And it sounds very credible. And it's very credible that she didn't go file the report for a few months because she was so freaked out. I mean, I had a juvenile justice guard try to rape me in a shower, and I threatened him off of me, but I didn't talk about that for years. I'd probably been on talk radio for a decade before I'd talk about it because it just sounds embarrassing. But now I can care less. I just talk about everything. But, I mean, you know, imagine a woman. Al Gore, who just won the Peace Prize, he's like God. ABC News, Portland police reopen Al Gore sex abuse case, and she says she's got the blue-stained dress. Oh, Al got a little too excited, and we're not going to play. You know, you've seen everybody. If they've got a dog who isn't castrated, you've seen it kind of get excited on the grass and scooting its hind end around. That's kind of what Al Gore did, reportedly. So we'll see about this DNA testing. I shouldn't be laughing. I mean, it's a very serious matter to have a vice president involved in this. It's so gross, and Al Gore, the man-bear pig, is so embarrassing and so degenerate, and this will discredit their global carbon tax. I mean, they've got their oil spill to push their carbon tax, and they're blocking the aid ships that could have skimmed all this up because they want the hurricanes to bring the oil in to use the crisis to get their carbon tax, and Al Gore, of course, is one of the main investors in it. But this is as big as the oil spill. You know, they want to use some unrelated oil spill for taxes. This is going to put an even bigger nail in anthropogenic global warming. But see, there's a reason they're now opening the investigation again. It's because he's not the Nobel Prize winner anymore. In the court of public opinion, he's a fraud. He's lost all credibility. People know he's a joke. They remember Bill Clinton saying, "I did not have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky." They remember all the women that came out who said that Bill Clinton would corner them, rape them, that he liked to bite them. He would bite their face to hold them down while he raped them. And people remember the interviews of the landlord of one lady, of Jennifer Flowers. The state police came and broke his legs and almost killed him, all because he'd videotaped Bill Clinton going in to have a little fun with his Jilly. And everybody remembers all those rape allegations and the groping allegations, and that Clinton got caught lying about it, and that he was groping and grabbing women, and it seemed like the uglier, the more. And that's actually something with the elite. They like Down syndrome children, and they like women who aren't that attractive. I mean, I wouldn't say this woman's that attractive. And it seems to be the forcing it on them. Some of the Harvard frat guys invented what they call whaling. I'm not going to go any deeper into it, but the fatter the woman, the better. And they like to get them drunk and then be mean to them. I've actually heard the stories from some of the scum. So, again, this is what these elites are into. If they can have any gorgeous, beautiful number 10 woman they want, no, they like to kind of make an old lady beg and plead and not want to have sex with them. So, again, it just fits the whole MO, and I believe it happened. And he's in a lot of trouble. And, of course, his wife's leaving him ahead of all this coming out. And if you think Tiger Woods was out of control, he was just red-blooded. I'm not saying it's good what he did, but he did like attractive, fast women. There are worse crimes, but rape or attempted rape is a crime. Portland police reopen Al Gore sex abuse allegations and claimed former vice president subjected her to unwanted sexual touching in 2006. I love the way the media spins that. If you listen to this tape, if you listen to her police report, and you can hear the police, they're totally buying it. They totally know she's telling the truth. Because, I mean, that's what they're trained to be able to pick up on. In fact, let's just go ahead and play a few minutes of this tape right now. I'm only going to play a few minutes of it, but let's go ahead and play a few minutes of it. Again, Portland police reopen Al Gore sex abuse tape. And the Chinese national television has also... And, of course, we also have the Enquirer cover. Al Gore is a pervert and sexual predator. And she told him, stop it, you sex poodle. And she said she tried to nicely get him to stop, but he just kept pushing and pushing, and it appeared that's how he liked it, so she had to escape out of the room. But, again, the reason I know her story's true, there's a lot of factors, was the, repeating. This is not unwanted sexual events. I am not making it. This is not happening, as he was chasing her around, trying to grab her from behind, hunching like a feral dog, does with a chew toy. Let's go ahead and go to this tape. Here it is.
I went into much deeper shock as I realized it appeared he was demanding sexual favors or sexual behaviors. I decided to declare I got so freaked I got a tiny bit mad under my terror. I decided to clarify things by asking him, as he angrily complained that I was not doing what he wanted, for him to show me exactly what he wanted me to do, such as wear a massage. I said, well, why don't you show me? Because I thought, this is too nuts. He grabbed my right hand hard, shoved it down under the sheet to his pubic hair area, my fingers brushing against his penis, and firmly planted my hand on his pubic crest region and said to me, there, in a very sharp, loud, angry-sounding tone. This is all happening really fast, as you can imagine. Further yet into shock from both his demand and his angry, intimidating behavior, I subtly and slowly slid my hand up away from the area and told him it would be a counterproductive massage technique, as he had said that he'd wanted to unwind from stress and relax, and that it would get him too awake, I said euphemistically and diplomatically. I felt like I was dancing on the edge of a razor. He angrily raged in an accusatory and threatening confrontational tone. He bellowed at me. I had no idea. And I've never had a client yell at me, except for one who was brain injured and she was drunk, and I work with her all the time. She's a mess, but she's like 5 feet tall, and she'll cry. Okay, so he screamed at me. He goes, I'm not asking, imagine yelling, I'm not asking for you to do anything inappropriate, to which I replied in a softer, terrified, calming tone, no impropriety was inferred, sir. At this point, I was realizing just how crazy and insidious he was and how precarious my situation was when he said the aforementioned, even though he clearly wanted inappropriate touch. It's like to make your mind go nuts. He was moaning, groaning, moving, and acting in a very suggestive way. It was unreal. I never even had any of my hotel clients get angry, yell, or act out at me before. During the massage episode, I realized much to my horror that I was in the perfect storm and that I was in a room with someone who was Teflon-coated in terms of his credibility and celebrity status, and my usual safety net idea in all hotel massages before this of being able to escape from such a potential situation of perverted or threatening behavior from a client, which would be terminate the massage and leave the room immediately for help from the front hotel desk, even running and or shouting for help in the hallway if deemed necessary, was completely worthless in this situation. It was no longer viable because I feared that if I ran for the door to get out, I could or would be violently accosted by some security detail for seeming to be hostile, inappropriate, insubordinate, or threatening to him, and I feared being tased or shot by them as a first and immediate response. I also feared that if I made dissent with Gore, I could be in danger of being falsely arrested for false allegations of alleged soliciting or even attempted assault in his efforts to do damage control, and I felt certain that even the smallest complaint from him to the hotel could also destroy my work life reputation in all the hotels and hence do irreparable damage to my livelihood, not to mention damage my personal reputation, which I had spent years building with my livelihood. I felt very uncertain if I'd be able to get out of the room without being accosted by him anyway at this point. Does that all make sense to y'all? Mm-hmm. He then tried another tactic as though he had very suddenly switched personalities and began in a pleading tone, pleading for release of his second chakra there. There's so much tension being held. This was yet another euphemism for sexual activity he was requesting, put cleverly as though it were a spiritual request or something.